Adam.
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Hi, buddy.
Pleasure.
Good to see you. How are you two?
We're great.
Excellent. Excellent.
Let me put down the AWS notes and get out the CBS notes.
Yes, we better have the right questions.
Leslie, I know exactly where to start. A year ago at our conference, we had the CEO of a company you've heard of called Aereo on stage. He's not here this year. You are.
The victors get invited.
Yes. So would you, for starters, would you reflect on your victory and briefly explain to everybody what happened, why you won, and what the ramifications of it are?
Well, look, we clearly felt that Aereo was taking our content. They were sharing it illegally without paying us for it. I think the issue got very confused. I think they presented a very good case to the Supreme Court, although it wasn't fair. And by that I mean they, excuse the pun, clouded the issue. They made it seem like if we stopped Aereo, we were stopping innovation, we were stopping technology, we were stopping our content from going online in the cloud. Nothing could be further from the truth. Basically, we are in business with so many different people putting our content online. If you want CBS content online, there's a million places you can find it, including CBS.com. So it really was unfair to characterize it as, CBS is stopping innovation, CBS is not moving ahead. I think we have been one of the most progressive companies in terms of looking at where our business is going. It has changed so drastically over the last 3 to 5 years. We don't look at it the same way. So look, obviously we're in favor of innovation. There were certain things that Aereo had that may be able to be used in the future. We weren't against working with them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to ask you. Why didn't they effectively, they had this clever technology that replicated rabbit ear technology, but to deliver broadcast over the internet to customers, but they didn't want to pay you for it. Now, but they could have, right? They could have taken out a license. You would have sold them a license, correct?
Absolutely.
Did you try? Did you say, hey, here's our terms. Why don't we work this out now?
They never approached us with that. This is the way we're doing business. We're going to charge our consumers $8 to $12, a subscriber. We sell our content to many cable companies, many satellite companies, many telcos, many online companies that pay us for the content. They were saying, yeah, it's the same way, but it isn't the same. And the Supreme Court rightly called it, you are just like a cable company. And then their latest legal trick was saying, okay, yeah, we are. Now we're saying we are a cable company. So therefore, we want to put this on at a very low license. We are open, willing to talk to them about that, but I don't think their business model made sense unless they were getting content illegally and for free.
And of course, it's interesting that they were shut down completely. The technology isn't super
full service.
Yeah,
look at that.
We aim to please here.
Right.
I assume the technology isn't rocket science that they were pursuing. Is there? Will someone else start something similar, or why don't you start something similar as yet another distribution mechanism?
Well, we had said if they won, we would start our own service just like that. But one of the courts, the Second Circuit said it's a Rube Goldberg sort of device where there are dime-sized antennas stored somewhere in Brooklyn, and people will attach into them. The reason this didn't make sense, right now, almost 90% of the people watching CBS are watching it from satellite, cable, or telco. So in essence, we are not so much an over-the-air broadcast. You can still get it, but a very low percentage of our viewers get their content that way. Once again, if Aereo wants to do it legally and approach us about doing a deal to have this content, we're more than willing to talk to them.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're also saying that despite the fact that these people were stealing your property, today it didn't even represent a very big. It doesn't represent a huge business opportunity. It's an opportunity, but not one that you wake up in the morning getting excited about.
Well, Aereo was in business in New York City for about 3 years, where it was legal because they won the first battle. we never heard any results, so I don't think it was something that people were adapting and using quite a bit. At one point, the only news was they ran out of antennas. So I don't know if it was viable. I don't know if it would have been had the courts decided differently. But I think it's an appropriate decision, and as I said, they try to confuse it with where we're going with our content.
So just to signal my intentions, Jim, I'm going to come over to CBS Interactive in a few minutes. I'm going to stick with the big corporation first. And I know, Leslie, that this has been described, I think, by you and many others as a golden age for content and for video content.
Right.
Talk a little bit about the new ways that you're making money on your content and where you see that going.
Well, obviously, we just spun out our outdoor business because it wasn't a content company.
And the rest of us call that billboards.
Right, right, exactly. Well, or it's in subway cars or buses, the billboard company. Basically because we provide content on CBS, on Showtime, on the CW, in our interactive space, obviously. That is our goal, to produce content, to acquire content, and to maximize how we sell it in a number of different ways. The landscape has changed drastically, as I said, over the last 3 to 5 years, because on-air broadcasting, although remains very important, and advertising remains very important, the amount of revenue we take from advertising has been reduced from nearly 70% down to almost 50%. Because there now are so many different ways to sell our content, to Netflix, to Amazon, to Hulu Plus, through CBS.com. Obviously, the international business is exploding. American content is still by far the best content in the world, and it is being bought in new territories. It is being paid for more competitively in old territories. We're moving into Latin America, the Middle East, the Far East, et cetera, where people are paying for our content. So it's a very different ballgame, and was, as we like to say, the upfront part used to be far more important than the back end, and that is shifting. So our job, get great content out there, put it on our broadcast network or online or through syndication, and be able to maximize it throughout the world. This past couple years, we established a brand new day part, and it's called summer programming. It's something, the cable networks were cleaning our clock in the summer. The networks basically put out a sign that said on June 1st, we're closed until Labor Day.
Go on to the beach, right?
And the cable companies wisely jumped in there, took that. So last year, we were able to set up a model with Under the Dome, and this year with Under the Dome and Extant.
These are programs on CBS?
Programs on CBS, for those of you who may not be watching network television. That
we have a wide array of interests.
We have an extraordinary deal with Amazon where they get these shows 4 days after it airs on CBS. And through our international sales and our deal with Amazon, it's almost like the rating on CBS is secondary. That the shows are successful before they even get on the air. They're available on air and they're available online almost simultaneously.
And they're successful because you pre-funded them. You got the revenue.
Correct.
And this may not be news, but I want to linger on something you said for a moment. You said you've reduced revenue from advertising from 70% to 50%, which is sort of analogous to what we've seen at the New York Times having dramatically reduced their dependence on advertising. Subscriptions to them are similar to what you're talking about. You mentioned your interest in Latin America. Talk about your interest in Latin America and the Spanish-speaking market.
You know, Latin America is an area that American content has not gone into as widely as they had in the rest of the world. Obviously, Europe, Australia have been huge for us. And Latin America, obviously, is a growing concern, as is Hispanic-speaking people in the United States. And there's more and more we need to do to talk about that, to do more of our programming SAP, where people can get it in Spanish. And obviously, it's a concern of any major media company that's involved in content.
And so are you interested in buying Univision, which is for sale?
Well, I don't know if they're for sale or they're IPOing.
You would know better than I would
right.
if they're
well,
for sale.
you know what? It's Chaim Saban, so nobody knows anything until it's done. You know, and
Chaim Saban being the primary private equity investor in
exactly,
Univision.
and you know the chief honcho there. Look, Univision is a great company. We're not interested in buying anything right now. You know, we just got rid of an asset, so we're very happy with the hand we're playing right now.
Jim, give us the brief overview of CBS's interactive or digital business and where it fits into the whole.
Well, there's a few buckets. So one is obviously being the operators of the CBS brands online. So CBS.com, CBS Sports, which used to be a public company, Sportsline that they acquired 10 years ago. CBS News, 60 Minutes. All of that is actually done within our group, which is I think a little unusual compared to the other major networks where it's, they each kind of operate their own internet groups within the different parts of the company. CBS, before I got there, had centered it all within one group. But then also they've acquired other parts of the company. So CNET, being a public company as well.
And you
and
say
other
they
brands,
because some of these things happened before your time.
Yeah, I joined 2011. Mm-hmm. So, and really, the way I think about it is you have your broadcast brand with CBS. The brands that we own that are non-CBS are almost the cable versions, within the CBS Corporation umbrella. So CNET and technology, TV Guide within the entertainment section, GameSpot and video games. There's about 10 or 11 of these brands. We have music brands. And so that's how they all fit together. We also run a very large business in China and have about 200 million users a month in our company through China as well. So all those together, and we're, the other big thing is that Les, from the minute I got here, and again, having been an entrepreneur a couple times, we're not here to run it like an R&D center. We're, Les puts the absolute, mandate on us to run it like a real business and very profitably. And
how big a business and how profitable a business is the interactive division?
It is not broken out. We are part of we roll up to the entertainment group within CBS overall.
It's becoming a theme on stage.
Yeah. But it's large. Look, you can imagine, more than one public company was acquired, plus all the CBS brands themselves, which make a lot of money, now. So.
David Paltruck, your research colleague, said something recently that I thought was interesting, which was that CBS makes more money per streaming viewer than it does per television viewer.
Right.
Now, first of all, I didn't know that, but secondly, you must have far fewer streaming viewers for that to be true, right?
I mean, it's a much smaller percentage, obviously, and that's true overall. I mean, streaming, this audience, it's different, but I mean, even people who are at the height of peak of being calling themselves streamers are still watching a huge amount live. But yeah, it's a small percentage of our overall. But the reason is pretty obvious. I mean, the CPMs are higher. It's basically because you can do targeting that you can't do offline. You can click through right to their sites, and it's scarce. Online video is scarce, and broadcast quality video is even more scarce.
And they can't do the time shifting. I don't know if you already said that, but that's a big factor as well.
That's right. Right.
Talk about, very briefly, what you, in digital, what you consider to be super premium ad content, editorial content that gets super premium rates. And I asked the question, my assumption is that in the broadcast world, everything is super premium, true?
Well, you don't sell the Super Bowl for the same rate as you sell The Bold and the Beautiful.
Yes, I'm comparing more The Bold and the Beautiful with something in Jim's P&L.
Right.
Well, I think about them in three buckets. I mean, I think there's a lot of great quality content on the internet, especially in video, and it's not just about cat videos and skateboards anymore. There's high quality content in many different places. So
business journalism, for example.
But let's take business journalism and
certainly premium content.
Well, but finance is interesting. So I think you have broadcast quality as one, and then it also helps to own a leading brand in a very lucrative vertical. So CNET is the best example of that. I mean, the CPMs for CNET are extremely high. Finance is another great vertical. So as long as you're in one of those two buckets, then you're not competing against the pure abundance of content that's out there. And those rates are being driven down, programmatic and other things.
If I may add something,
please.
CBS Interactive, I say this to Jim, and not because he's just sitting here, but he has a similar function to me in that he's probably the only other guy who interacts with every single division of our company. So Interactive really is embedded, literally, publishing, television, news, sports, radio, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it really is an integral part. You know, so when you say break it out, it's really attached to 10 other divisions.
Okay, I see.
And it works really well that way.
I'm going to come to all of you in a moment. I want to ask a complicated question about one competitor and partner of yours, which is Amazon. So you already spoke about how pleased you are with the revenue that Amazon brings in by buying your programming, including in innovative ways. At the same time, they're investing heavily in original programming.
Right.
And at the same time, you also own Simon & Schuster.
Correct.
Now, Simon & Schuster is not involved in a public spat with Amazon yet.
Right.
So talk to me about all of those things I just raised. How do you feel about Amazon?
You know, I heard the word frenemy before, and I think you could say that about lots of companies out there. I recently met with Jeff Bezos in Sun Valley, and we talked about our various businesses. That publishing, there are a lot of issues, you know, in Simon & Schuster. The video business is expanding greatly. They are a competitor to Showtime in that they're doing original premium content. And you know what? We view that as a positive. We would produce shows for Amazon and for Netflix, and we plan on doing that in the future. Look, I think the presence of Amazon and Netflix and Hulu Plus is a very positive thing for content providers. The fact that they're doing some of this content themselves is only a positive. Yeah, are they going to be competing for Showtime viewers with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black? Absolutely. They're going to be competing for that premium content watcher on cable, but that's okay. That's fine. I think all the relationships as we go further down the road. Look, Comcast. Comcast pays us a lot of money to carry CBS, but they also own NBC, which is our biggest competitor. So that's the way of the world, that most of the companies that you talk about today are our competitors as well as our friends.
And how would you feel if they do to Simon & Schuster authors what they're doing to Hachette authors right now? I say this as a Hachette author, by the way.
Right. We are negotiating with Amazon as we speak, so I don't want to get into too much detail about it. Obviously, Amazon has a very definitive point of view on what should be done in the publishing business. Those in the publishing world are not totally copacetic with it because they do control an awful lot of the, a very high percentage of those books. And it's going to be a very interesting thing to watch as we go down the future.
Questions, please. Right in the middle of the room. And then we'll come over here, please. Well, let's come over here first since you have the microphone, and then we'll go over to you, Sharon. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Beth Ann from Westfield. Quick question, is probably more for Jim. When you think about the YouTubes now with their studios, and Michael Wolff teed up yesterday about Fandom and the creation that's going on in that kind of back channel, if you're not into R&D, are you doing things to incubate that new model of content creation and types of information and content that people can't get enough of right now, that quite honestly is the drug that I think a lot of our younger generations are looking for to view?
Yeah, and just to clarify, I didn't mean that we don't do R&D. I meant that we run a real P&L, and we aspire to have similar financials to the company overall in terms of margin, things like that. That's all I meant. Now within that, we innovate a ton, and there are things that we're doing right now that we can't talk about that are coming out that are fantastic, and when it comes to short form, I mean, I think that's absolutely something that's exploding, obviously. And we are looking really hard at that. At the same time, for the people, especially on YouTube, it's been very hard to have successful business models, as we've seen, largely unprofitable from a lot of the bigger companies that are doing that. And and I think one of the things, going back to the first question here about disrupting ourselves with Aereo and things like that. I mean, I don't think you've seen CBS or less kind of be the ones to be just throwing caution to the wind against our business model. We didn't do Hulu, and that's paid off incredibly well for us. We were very late on going onto tablets, onto mobile, and it's one of the biggest growing parts of our business. So I think you will see us go into things like short form, but I think we're going to do it in a smart business way.
In the middle of the room there, you have your mic?
Yeah. Thanks. Hi, Les. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
Tell everyone else who doesn't know who you are.
Hi, I'm Sharon Waxman. I'm the editor of The Wrap. So I wanted to challenge something you said about Aereo, because we've covered both sides of that, and you have to give respect to Chet Kanojia for what he was trying to do, and he lost. But one thing that he's told me on more than one occasion is that initially he did reach out to yourself and other broadcast networks to try to collaborate and pay for the service, and that he was shut out, and that was why he went the sort of more radical route. Can you respond to that?
Well, Sharon, I read you every day, and I know you wrote a long story about Aereo's defeat was a bad thing for the industry, which, as you know, I totally disagree with, but I respect you a lot, and you're right to say it. I never spoke to Chet myself until Quincy introduced me to him at a dinner at CES this past year.
This is Quincy Smith, who's in the
right,
audience.
Right,
here
exactly.
It's hiding now.
I speak to Barry very often. Barry's a very close friend of mine.
Barry Diller, the investor
Barry Diller,
in Aereo.
I worked for 30 years ago, and I think is one of the most brilliant men in media and everything else. Barry and I decided about a year and a half ago never to speak about Aereo. It was better for our relationship. But literally, if Chet would have called me, I would have been happy to meet with him. He wasn't persona non grata. I mean, when we went to court, maybe he was, but the door was open. It's still open. If Chet called me tomorrow, I never received a call ever.
There's your
direct
answer.
Nor did any other network guy that I know of. So
we have one over here, I believe.
Hi.
There you are.
David Kenny, the Weather Company. CBS has an awesome portfolio of local properties. We haven't talked about local yet. I'm trying to understand where you both view local digital going. And is there a big innovation coming, and is it disruptive or good for broadcast affiliates?
And thank you for that. And I'll just add that what we didn't say was by getting out of the outdoor business, that was a local business, so you decreased your local.
Yeah, but outdoor is billboards. It wasn't local content, you know. Okay. It's funny. A few years back, you know, take LA as a market. LA had 4 different websites of CBS, right? Each radio station had their own sites. The 2 TV stations had their own sites. And it seemed rather stupid to me that 4 guys were selling against each other. So we devised a local business that's now in 28 cities, and it's called CBSLA.com and CBSNewYork.com. And I think it's become very successful, and obviously being sold by both the TV station guys and the radio station guys. And now we're increasingly adding web sales guys to do the local interactive. I think it is an area of great growth potential. I think we can replace the local newspapers. I think we're doing that. I think our websites, our direct competition is the LATimes.com, et cetera. And I'm very pleased with the innovation that they're doing.
Yeah, they roll together to CBSLocal.com, which is a top 75 ComScore property every month. And I think
this is under CBS Interactive?
CBS under CBS Local, and is by far, you know, the #1 out of all their direct competitors for actually having a good strategy for pulling all those, you know, disparate city, you know, sites together.
I think there was one back there. Another hand? Over here. Thank you.
Hi.
And then over here.
Tyler Mabius with Adconian. Jim, how does programmatic fit into your monetization strategy? And are you having conversations with Les that there could be a day that there is no longer a CBS sales team?
And as you answer the question, tell the non-ad tech people in the room what programmatic refers to.
Right. Well, it's either the automated buying or targeting of, you know, of buying advertising online, most simply. And yeah, look, we weren't doing a lot of it before. I mean, we have a large sales force. We sell direct, just like Joanne Ross does with the network overall. And it's obviously becoming a bigger part of the industry. It's a small percentage of ours. I mean, it's like very, very low double digits of our overall ad sales for CBS Interactive. And I think it's just it's about the marketplace being efficient. At the same time, especially if you're in the premium side of things, or the super premium broadcast level side of things, but also things like CNET, you know, direct sales is not going away. For those kinds of buys, there are reasons to have more of a direct relationship with advertisers. There's a reason why half this room was probably in France, you know, last month for ad deals. I mean, those are always going to be a big part of it. And I think as a tool, it's important, but I don't think you see a day where premium inventory is just completely all done by robots. I don't see that day coming.
I want to take one last question right here, please.
Thanks. Hi, Les, And Jim, Jason Rapp from Science Inc. Wanted to talk about sports a little bit. In the news is the NBA asking Disney and ESPN and Turner for double the rights fees. Les, you spend a lot of money on sports rights. Jim, our entire office was watching the World Cup on ESPN, and yet economic value seems to be going to the teams as well by evidence of these incredible high prices for team franchises. Where do you guys think you play in the economics of sports rights going forward?
We have 4 major franchises at the network that we have licensed for the next decade. It's the NFL, it's the NCAA March Madness, it's SEC college football, and the PGA Tour golf. As I said, the good news is we have 10 more years. We're paying a high price, but every single one of them is profitable and will grow more profitable as we go along. This year, we're beginning a new 10-year deal with the NFL where we're paying over $1 billion per season in sports rights to the NFL, and we are still going to make a profit because the NFL still is the gold standard for live television. There's nothing that competes with it. This year we've luckily added Thursday Night Football to that. We're very happy with these 4 franchises. I'm almost positive you will see us not bidding for Major League Baseball or the NBA as they come up.
Because you don't like the economics that he referred to.
Correct. As Jim said about our interactive group, we really run our company for profit. It is a for-profit company. We are on the New York Stock Exchange.
That's a very confusing, that's a confusing concept in Silicon Valley.
I know. Look, I love Silicon Valley, but I love making money, and my report card is based on profits. I think Jeff Bezos has a much easier way of life than I do.
Leslie Moonves and Jim Lanzone, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, before